And I just told you about senators that threatened him with votes and no money coming into Ukraine if they do things. That's really what people are trying to say that I did, but the only difference is I didn't do it. You take a look at that call, it was perfect.
President Trump speaking right now about the House's impeachment inquiry into his phone call with Ukraine's president. Today, the White House released a memorandum of the call. In it, President Trump is described as asking Ukraine's president for a favor. He goes on to say he heard a Ukrainian prosecutor who was very good was shut down, and he says there is talk, former Vice President Joe Biden stopped that prosecution. Now, it is important to note a memorandum is not a verbatim transcript of exactly what transpired. Instead, it is based on the notes and the recollections of the Situation Room duty officers and the National Security Council staff assigned to listen in on the conversation. Even the White House admits there are a variety of factors that impact its accuracy, including accents and interpretation as well. During the call, Ukraine's president spoke through a translator. Now, while you've likely heard this phone call is at the center of the impeachment inquiry, you may not know the full backstory behind it and why the president was talking to Ukraine's president about Joe Biden and his son.
Jennifer Bellamy explains what the controversy is all about and why no action has been taken against the Bidens. Jennifer?
Well, as calls for President Trump's impeachment grew among House lawmakers, the president himself increased his own calls for an investigation into Democratic presidential frontrunner Joe Biden and his son. It's another layer to this situation, so we're breaking it down for you this evening. Phone call in question. President Trump admits he discussed Joe Biden with the president of Ukraine during a July phone call that's now led to a House impeachment inquiry. Trump has alleged former Vice President Biden used his influence as VP to help his son Hunter Biden's private sector work in Ukraine. Here's what we know. During his time as vice president, Joe Biden did lead the U.S. diplomatic efforts to help support Ukraine's new democracy and end corruption, even warning Russia to stop interfering there. Around that same time in 2014, Hunter Biden was hired by Burisma Holdings, a Ukrainian gas company, as a board member, reportedly making $50,000 a month. Earlier this year, he stopped working with the company, which had ties to the country's ousted former president. At the time, the Obama White House said Hunter Biden was a private citizen and there was no conflict of interest. But both Trump and his personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, have claimed Joe Biden used the possibility of money from the U.S. to pressure the Ukrainian government to fire its top prosecutor, who was allegedly investigating Hunter Biden and his former company. Despite those claims from the president, there's been no evidence of any wrongdoing by either Biden, according to two former Ukrainian prosecutors general. Now, in its impeachment inquiry, the U.S. House looks to see if Trump himself withheld money from the Ukraine, $400 million in security and military aid, in an effort to pressure the country to investigate his political rival. Joe Biden says he never has spoken to his son about his overseas business dealings, and Trump is stirring this up because he knows Biden would beat him in a presidential election. Trump has said he's done nothing wrong and withheld money from Ukraine because other countries weren't putting in their fair share. But according to the European Union, it put up more than $16 billion in financial aid, along with billions from another organization as well.